Here are moments in life when silence feels louder than words, when a crowded room offers no comfort, and when the weight of loneliness settles deep in the soul. It is not always visible, yet it lingers in the quiet hours, in the spaces between conversations, in the unspoken thoughts that whisper asterisk. Does anyone truly see me? Loneliness is more than just a passing emotion. It is a deep and profound struggle that affects both the heart and the spirit. It is not simply about being physically alone, but about the condition of one's soul. A person can be surrounded by family, friends, and even an entire congregation, yet still feel an aching emptiness inside. It is a silent battle that many fight in secret, a pain that often goes unnoticed by the world. Some may dismiss loneliness as a temporary phase, but for those who experience it deeply, it can feel like an unshakable burden, a weight pressing down on their very existence. It is an invisible prison that traps people in thoughts of worthlessness, abandonment, and despair. Many people misunderstand loneliness, assuming it only applies to those who have no one around them. But loneliness is not defined by the absence of people. It is defined by the absence of connection. A man can have a loving wife, obedient children, and a successful career, yet still feel completely isolated. A woman can attend every church service, volunteer in ministries, and sing in the choir, but still feel unknown in the depths of her heart. This is because loneliness is not simply about the lack of company. It is about the lack of meaningful soul-deep relationships. It is about feeling unseen, unheard, and unimportant in a world that seems to move on without noticing the pain inside. There are moments in life when loneliness strikes unexpectedly. It can come after a personal failure, when shame convinces a person that they are unworthy of love. It can come after the loss of a loved one, when the empty chair at the dinner table becomes a painful reminder of their absence. It can come in the quiet hours of the night, when there is no distraction left to drown out the whispers of insecurity and fear. Loneliness can seep into the soul in ways that words cannot fully express. It is a sorrow that lingers, a longing that remains unfulfilled. It is the painful realization that even in the midst of others, there can still be a void that no human companionship seems able to fill. People often try to escape loneliness in different ways. Some seek out distractions, filling their days with work, entertainment, and social activities, in an attempt to silence the aching emptiness inside. Others turn to unhealthy habits, hoping that substances, addictions, or destructive behaviors will numb the pain. Some withdraw completely, believing the lie that no one truly cares, isolating themselves even further from the very relationships that could bring healing. But no matter how much a person tries to mask or ignore loneliness, it does not simply disappear. It remains, waiting for the quiet moments to return, whispering doubts and fears into the heart. One of the most painful aspects of loneliness is the feeling of being forgotten. There is something deeply human about the need to be known, to be acknowledged, to be valued. When that need goes unmet, it can lead to a sense of despair. A person may wonder if they matter, if their presence makes any difference, if anyone would even notice if they were gone. These thoughts are heavy, and they can weigh down even the strongest of hearts. The enemy of the soul knows this, and he uses loneliness as a tool to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and hopelessness. He convinces people that they are unseen, that no one understands, that their pain is theirs alone to carry. But loneliness does not have to be a life sentence. It is not an identity. It is an experience. It is a season, not a destination. Many have walked through the valley of loneliness and found hope on the other side. The key is recognizing that true connection cannot always be found in the places the world tells us to look. Human relationships, as valuable as they are imperfect. Friends can fail. Family can be distant. Even the most loving people have limitations. But the answer to loneliness is not just in seeking more people. It is in seeking deeper, more meaningful relationships. It is in realizing that no human being can fully satisfy the longing that exists within the heart. Loneliness serves as a wake-up call, reminder of a deeper need within the soul. It exposes the truth that no earthly connection, no social status, no amount of recognition can truly satisfy the longing for something greater. There is an emptiness inside each person that no human relationship can completely fill. This is why even those who seem to have everything, fame, fortune, love, and admiration, can still feel an unshakable loneliness. They have all that the world says should bring happiness, yet something remains missing. One of the greatest deceptions about loneliness is the idea that a person must wait for others to reach out before they can find relief. Many sit in silence, hoping someone will notice their pain, hoping someone will extend a hand, offer a word of encouragement, or simply ask how they are doing. But the truth is, healing often begins when a person steps out of their own isolation and seeks connection. Sometimes, the answer to loneliness is found not in receiving love, but in giving it. When a lonely heart reaches out to another, when one chooses to offer kindness instead of waiting for it, something miraculous happens. A bridge is built, and the weight of loneliness begins to lift. No one is immune to loneliness. It affects people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. A child who feels ignored by their parents, a teenager who struggles to fit in, an elderly person who sits alone in a quiet house, a pastor who carries the burdens of his congregation, but has no one to share his own struggles with. Loneliness does not discriminate. It can strike anyone, anywhere, at any time. But just as loneliness has the power to wound, connection has the power to heal. The journey out of loneliness begins with recognizing that isolation is not the answer. It requires the courage to open up, to be vulnerable, to seek out relationships that bring true connection. It means being willing to take the first step, to reach out, to engage with others even when it feels uncomfortable. It means understanding that no one is truly alone, no matter how strong the feeling of isolation may be. Healing from loneliness is not always immediate, and it is not always easy. There will be moments when the old feelings return, when doubt creeps back in, when the temptation to withdraw seems overwhelming. But every step toward connection, every effort to build relationships, every act of love and kindness brings a person closer to freedom from the grip of loneliness. It is a process, but it is one worth walking through. For those who feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten, there is hope. Loneliness may be a reality, but it is not the final word. Here there is a greater truth, a deeper love, and a connection that reaches beyond the limitations of human relationships. No one was meant to walk through life alone. There is a place of belonging, a place of understanding, a place where the heart can find true fulfillment. And when that place is found, loneliness loses its power, and the soul is finally at peace. Loneliness is often misunderstood as the simple absence of people, but the truth is that it can exist even in the most crowded places. It is not about being physically isolated, but about feeling emotionally and spiritually disconnected. A person can be in a bustling city, surrounded by thousands, yet feel completely alone. A man can work in a busy office, engage in conversations, and laugh with colleagues, yet carry an unbearable emptiness inside. A woman can sit in a room filled with friends and family, hear their voices, see their faces, and still feel unseen and unknown. Loneliness is not defined by how many people are present. It is defined by whether or not the heart feels connected. The experience of loneliness is not limited to those who are visibly alone. Some of the loneliest people are those who seem to have it all: successful careers, loving families, large social circles, yet inside they struggle with a deep and unshakable sense of isolation. It is possible to smile, to participate, to engage in everyday life, while internally feeling as if no one truly understands or cares. This is why loneliness is often a hidden burden, one that many carry in silence. It does not always show itself through words or actions, and often those who suffer the most appear perfectly fine on the outside. There are many reasons why loneliness can persist even in the presence of others. One reason is the lack of meaningful relationships. A person may have many acquaintances, but no true friends. They may engage in conversations, but those conversations remain on the surface, never touching the deeper parts of their soul. They may attend social gatherings, but the interactions feel empty, leaving them longing for something more. Human beings are created with a need for deep connection, for relationships that go beyond the superficial. Without this, no amount of social activity can fill the void of loneliness. Another reason loneliness thrives even in a crowd is the fear of vulnerability. Many people hide their true thoughts, emotions, and struggles out of fear that they will be rejected or misunderstood. They put on a mask, pretending to be happy, confident, or strong, when in reality they are battling feelings of sadness, fear, or insecurity. The more they hide, the more isolated they become. The world teaches that strength is about independence, about not needing anyone, about handling everything alone. But in reality, true strength comes from connection, from allowing others to see the real struggles, from being open and honest. Yet for many, the fear of judgment keeps them trapped in loneliness, unable to bridge the gap between themselves and those around them. There are also those who experience loneliness because of past wounds. Perhaps they have been betrayed by a close friend, abandoned by a loved one, or hurt by those they trusted most. The pain of those experiences causes them to build walls around their hearts, shutting others out to avoid being hurt again. They convince themselves that it is safer to be alone than to risk another disappointment. While the walls they build may protect them from further pain, they also keep them from experiencing love, support, and companionship. The desire for connection remains, but the fear of being hurt again prevents them from reaching out. Loneliness can also come from feeling misunderstood. Every person longs to be truly known, to have someone who understands their thoughts, their emotions, and their struggles. When that understanding is missing, it creates a sense of isolation. A person may feel that no one shares their values, their experiences, or their pain. They may speak, but feel unheard. They may express themselves, but feel that no one truly listens. This sense of being misunderstood can deepen the loneliness, making it seem as though they are living in a world where they do not belong. Loneliness is not a result of external circumstances, but an internal struggle. A person may be surrounded by love and support, yet feel unworthy of it. They may believe that they are not good enough, that they do not deserve love, that they are a burden to those around them. These thoughts can create an emotional barrier, preventing them from fully receiving the care and connection that is offered. They may push people away, not because they do not want relationships, but because they do not believe they are worthy of them. The presence of distractions in modern society also contributes to loneliness. In a world filled with technology, social media, and endless entertainment, true connection is often replaced with shallow interactions. People scroll through pictures, read status updates, and send messages, but these digital interactions lack the depth of real, face-to-face relationships. They may give the illusion of connection, but in reality, they often leave people feeling even more alone. A person can have hundreds of online friends, yet have no one to turn to in moments of deep need. The more people rely on these surface-level interactions, the more disconnected they become from genuine relationships. Busyness is another factor that contributes to loneliness. Many people fill their schedules with work, responsibilities, and obligations, leaving little time for meaningful relationships. They may convince themselves that they are too busy to connect, too occupied to invest in deep friendships. Over time, they become accustomed to being alone, and loneliness becomes their normal state. The truth is, no matter how busy life gets, relationships require time and effort. Without intentional connection, loneliness will continue to grow, even in the middle of a packed schedule. Loneliness can also come from a lack of purpose. A person who feels that their life has no meaning, that their presence does not matter, is more likely to experience isolation. They may ask themselves why they should seek relationships when they feel they have nothing to offer. They may believe that no one would notice if they withdrew. The absence of a sense of purpose makes loneliness even more painful, as it adds a layer of hopelessness to the isolation. Loneliness is made worse by comparison. A person may look at others and assume that everyone else is happy, fulfilled, and surrounded by love. They see images of joyful families, thriving friendships, and perfect relationships, and begin to believe that they are the only ones struggling with loneliness. This comparison deepens their sense of isolation, making them feel as if they are uniquely broken. The truth is, many people experience loneliness, even those who seem to have everything. But because loneliness is often hidden, it creates the false belief that everyone else has found connection except for them. Loneliness, when left unaddressed, can have a profound impact on a person's well-being. It can lead to feelings of depression, anxiety, and hopelessness. It can make even the simplest tasks feel overwhelming. It can drain a person's energy, making them withdraw even further from others. The longer loneliness persists, the more it reinforces itself, creating a cycle that feels impossible to break. Despite the depth of loneliness, it is not something that must be endured forever. The first step in overcoming it is recognizing that it is not a sign of failure. Feeling lonely does not mean that a person is weak, unworthy, or broken. It is a common human experience, one that countless others have faced. Acknowledging loneliness is the first step toward healing. Taking steps to connect with others, even in small ways, can begin to break the cycle of isolation. It may not always be easy, especially for those who have been hurt or have grown accustomed to being alone, but making an effort to reach out, to engage in meaningful conversations, and to invest in relationships can begin to fill the void. True connection requires openness, vulnerability, and a willingness to take the first step, even when it feels uncomfortable. Loneliness may be a reality, but it does not have to define a person's life. There is always a path forward, always an opportunity for connection, always the possibility of finding the relationships that bring meaning and fulfillment. The journey out of loneliness begins with the belief that no one is truly alone, that their presence matters, and that connection is always within reach. Human beings are not designed to walk through life alone. From the moment of birth, there is an instinctive need for connection, for relationship, for love. A child cries out for comfort before even understanding language. A person seeks companionship, friendship, and family because there is something within that longs for closeness. There is a deep need to be known, to be understood, and to be valued. This need is not a weakness, but a fundamental part of existence. The heart was never meant to live in isolation. It was created for fellowship, to share both joy and sorrow with others, to give and receive love, to walk alongside others in the journey of life. Loneliness, then, is not just an emotional state, but a sign that something essential is missing. It is a signal that there is a gap, an absence of the relationships that bring meaning and purpose. When people feel lonely, it is because they are experiencing life in a way that goes against their very nature. They are disconnected from the relationships they were made to have. This is why loneliness feels so heavy, why it drains the soul and weighs on the heart. It is not just an inconvenience or a minor struggle. It is a deep and painful reminder that something is missing. There is a reason why the greatest joys in life are often tied to relationships. A celebration feels incomplete without someone to share it with. Success feels hollow when there is no one to acknowledge it. Even the most beautiful experiences, the most breathtaking moments, feel less meaningful when they are experienced alone. This is because joy was meant to be shared. There is a fulfillment that comes from walking through life with others, from having people who stand by your side in both the good times and the bad. Without that, even the most wonderful moments can feel empty. Suffering, too, is easier to bear when it is not carried alone. The burdens of life can be overwhelming, but when there is someone to listen, to offer support, to simply be present, the weight feels lighter. There is something powerful about knowing that someone else cares, that someone else is willing to walk through the storm with you. Pain is magnified in isolation, but it is softened in the presence of love and understanding. This is why people instinctively reach out in times of trouble, why they long for a comforting voice, a reassuring touch, a reminder that they are not alone. The world often promotes the idea of independence, of self-sufficiency, of not needing anyone. People are encouraged to be strong on their own, to handle their problems without relying on others. But this idea is misleading. True strength is not found in isolation but in connection. A tree with deep roots does not stand alone. It is surrounded by a forest. Its roots intertwine with those of other trees, strengthening and supporting one another. In the same way, people are meant to grow together, to rely on each other, to draw strength from their relationships. Loneliness is not just painful, it is also dangerous. Studies have shown that prolonged isolation can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. The heart suffers when it is cut off from love and connection. The mind begins to believe lies that no one cares, that life has no meaning, that there is no purpose in reaching out. These thoughts create a cycle, pushing people further into isolation, making it harder to break free. The longer loneliness lingers, the more difficult it becomes to reconnect. It builds walls, convincing people that they are safer alone, when in reality, they are only deepening their pain. Many people who feel lonely struggle to take the first step toward connection. They wait for someone else to notice, to reach out, to make an effort. But relationships require intentionality. Just as a fire must be tended to keep it burning, relationships must be nurtured to remain strong. It is not enough to simply hope for connection. There must be a willingness to build it, to seek it out, to invest in it. This means making an effort to engage with others, to open up, to take the risk of vulnerability. It means choosing to step out of isolation, even when it feels easier to stay hidden. Building relationships is not always easy. People are imperfect, and relationships require patience, understanding, and forgiveness. There will be moments of disappointment, times when others fail to meet expectations, times when misunderstandings create distance. But these challenges do not mean that connection is impossible. They are simply a part of the process, a part of learning how to love and be loved, how to support and be supported. No relationship is perfect, but even imperfect relationships are better than isolation. Community plays a vital role in overcoming loneliness. It is within a community that people find belonging, acceptance, and support. A true community is more than just a group of people. It is a place where individuals are known, where they are valued for who they are, where they can share their struggles without fear of rejection. It is a space where people can come together, not just in times of joy, but also in times of pain. Being part of a community means having a place to turn when life becomes overwhelming, having people who will stand by you, who will remind you that you are not alone. Finding a community does not always happen instantly. It requires effort, time, and a willingness to engage. It may mean stepping into unfamiliar spaces, introducing yourself to new people, taking the risk of forming new relationships. It may mean being the one to invite others in, to create spaces of belonging, to be the person who reaches out to those who are struggling. Building community is not just about receiving connection, but also about offering it. When people take the time to invest in others, to be present for those who feel alone, they create an environment where loneliness begins to fade. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, can break through loneliness. A simple word of encouragement, a listening ear, a thoughtful gesture. These things have the power to remind people that they are seen, that they matter. When someone feels lonely, even the smallest sign of love can make a difference. In the same way, offering kindness to others not only blesses them, but also strengthens the giver. Relationships are built through these moments of connection, through choosing to be present, to care, to show love, even when it is not expected. One of the greatest ways to overcome loneliness is to serve others. When people shift their focus from their own isolation to the needs of those around them, something changes. Helping others, offering support, being there for someone else. These things create a sense of purpose, a sense of connection. Loneliness often makes people feel as though they have nothing to give, but the truth is that everyone has something to offer. A kind word, a helping hand, a willingness to listen. These simple things can bring healing not just to others, but to the giver as well. Loneliness is not meant to be a permanent state. It is a sign that something is missing, but it is also an opportunity to seek what is needed. It is a reminder that life is not meant to be lived alone, that there is more waiting beyond the walls of isolation. Every person has the ability to build relationships, to find community, to create spaces of love and connection. It begins with a choice to reach out, to engage, to invest in the relationships that bring meaning and purpose. The heart was never meant to be alone. And when true connection is found, loneliness loses its power. Loneliness is a heavy burden, one that weighs on the heart and mind, often in ways that are difficult to describe. It is not just an emotion, but a deep sense of disconnection, a feeling of being unseen, unheard, and unknown. It affects not only the way a person feels, but also how they think, how they view themselves, and how they interact with the world. The longer loneliness lingers, the more it shapes thoughts and behaviors, creating patterns that can be difficult to break. It influences the way people see their worth, their purpose, and their place in the world. When loneliness takes hold, it begins to whisper lies. It tells people that they are not important, that they are forgotten, that no one truly cares. These thoughts, though untrue, feel real in the silence. They grow stronger with time, making it harder to reach out, harder to believe that connection is still possible. A person who once sought companionship may begin to withdraw, not because they do not long for it, but because they have convinced themselves that no one wants them. The loneliness that once felt like an unwelcome guest becomes familiar, and soon, it begins to shape identity. Self-worth is deeply affected by loneliness. A person who feels isolated may start to believe that their loneliness is their fault, that something about them makes them unlovable or undesirable. They compare themselves to others, believing that everyone else has found happiness and belonging, while they remain on the outside. They begin to wonder what is wrong with them, why they are the ones left out, why no one seems to notice their pain. These thoughts become a cycle, reinforcing the idea that they are not enough, that they do not matter. The more they believe this, the more they withdraw, and the cycle continues. The mind is powerful, and the thoughts that take root in loneliness can become deeply ingrained. A person who once had confidence may find it slipping away, replaced by self-doubt and insecurity. They may hesitate to speak, fearing that their words do not matter. They may avoid social situations, believing that no one wants their presence. They may even begin to feel invisible, as if they could disappear, and no one would notice. These thoughts are not based on truth, but when loneliness persists, they become the reality that a person lives in. Loneliness does not just affect the way a person sees themselves, it also changes the way they see others. A heart that longs for connection but does not receive it may begin to grow bitter. Instead of seeing people as potential friends or sources of support, they may begin to view them as distant, uncaring, or even rejecting. They assume that others are too busy, too uninterested, too absorbed in their own lives to notice them. They may stop trying to engage, convinced that every failed attempt at connection is proof that they are not wanted. Over time, loneliness can turn into resentment, a belief that the world has shut them out, that no one is willing to let them in. This shift in perspective creates a barrier. Even when opportunities for connection arise, a lonely heart may resist them. If someone offers kindness, they may doubt its sincerity. If someone reaches out, they may hesitate to respond, unsure if it is genuine, or if rejection will follow. Their past experiences of loneliness make them cautious, unwilling to risk the pain of being let down again. Even when surrounded by people who care, they may struggle to believe it, to accept love, to trust that they are truly valued. Loneliness also affects decision-making. A person who feels disconnected may begin to make choices based on their isolation, rather than their true desires. They may settle for relationships that are unhealthy or unfulfilling, believing that any companionship is better than being alone. They may avoid stepping into new experiences, fearing that they will once again feel out of place. They may make compromises that go against their values, just to feel included. Loneliness can lead people down paths they never intended to walk, not because they truly want to, but because they are searching for relief from the ache of isolation. The impact of loneliness extends beyond emotions and thoughts. It affects the body as well. Studies have shown that prolonged loneliness can lead to increased stress, weakened immunity, and even a greater risk of illness. The body responds to loneliness as it would to a physical threat, releasing stress hormones that over time take a toll on health. Sleep is often affected, as the mind struggles to find peace in isolation. Energy levels drop, motivation fades, and even simple tasks can feel overwhelming. The connection between mind, body, and soul is undeniable, and when one suffers, the others do as well. Breaking free from loneliness is not always easy, especially when it has taken root in thoughts and emotions. The longer a person has felt isolated, the more difficult it can be to believe that things can change. The first step is recognizing that loneliness is not a reflection of worth. It is not proof that a person is unlovable, forgotten, or unwanted. It is simply an experience, one that many go through, but not one that has to define the rest of life. Taking small steps toward connection can begin to break the cycle. Even when it feels difficult, choosing to engage with others, to open up, to seek out relationships can make a difference. It may not happen all at once, but every conversation, every act of kindness, every moment of reaching out is a step toward healing. The more a person pushes against the lies of loneliness, the more they begin to see the truth, that they are valuable, that they are needed, that they are not meant to be alone. Community is an essential part of overcoming loneliness. It may take time to find the right people, the right friendships, the right support system, but it is worth the effort. Building relationships requires patience, but it also requires willingness. It means taking risks, allowing others in, and choosing to be present, even when it feels uncomfortable. Ultigrena to liking willingness, with a take to be present, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means understanding that not every relationship will be perfect, but that connection is still worth pursuing. Acts of service can also be a powerful way to combat loneliness. When a person shifts their focus from their own isolation to the needs of others, something changes. Serving, helping, offering kindness, these things create a sense of purpose, a reminder that life is bigger than loneliness. Even in small ways, choosing to give rather than withdraw can open doors to relationships that would not have formed otherwise. Hope is the greatest enemy of loneliness. Ultra-greatness to greatest enemy of loneliness. It is the belief that things can change, that connection is still possible, that love and friendship are still within reach. Loneliness tries to convince people that they will always feel this way, that nothing will get better, but hope speaks a different message. It whispers that healing is possible, that relationships can be restored, that new connections can be formed. Even in the deepest loneliness, hope remains a light, a reminder that no one is truly forgotten, that no heart is beyond repair. Loneliness has a way of making a person feel small, unseen, and forgotten. It isolates not only the body but also the mind, creating a space where doubts and fears grow unchecked. It is one thing to be physically alone, but it is another to feel alone, even when surrounded by people. This is the reality that many face, living in a world filled with voices yet hearing none that truly speak to them, walking among crowds, yet feeling as though no one really notices. It is a silent struggle, one that is often hidden beneath forced smiles and polite conversation. Many who experience loneliness find themselves asking if they are truly known by anyone. They wonder if anyone sees beyond the surface, beyond the small talk and the daily routines, to the deeper parts of who they are. There is a longing to be understood, to have someone recognize their struggles, their fears, their hopes and their desires. It is not enough to be acknowledged on a surface level. The heart longs for something deeper. Yet when that need is not met, when days and weeks go by without a meaningful connection, loneliness begins to settle in. There is a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Some people choose solitude, finding peace in moments of quiet, but loneliness is not the same as solitude. Loneliness is an ache, an emptiness that longs to be filled. It is the feeling of reaching out, but finding no one there. It is the weight of carrying burdens alone, with no one to share in the struggles of life. Even the strongest person, the most independent individual, can experience loneliness. It does not discriminate. It reaches into every corner of life, affecting young and old, rich and poor, those with families and those without. In today's world, where technology keeps people constantly connected, loneliness has not disappeared, it has increased. Social media gives the illusion of connection, yet many still feel unseen. They scroll through endless images and updates, seeing glimpses of others' lives, yet feeling more isolated than ever. It is possible to have hundreds of online friends, and still have no one to talk to when the heart is heavy. It is possible to receive countless likes and comments, yet still feel completely alone. The digital world has created new forms of interaction, but it has not replaced the need for true, deep, face-to-face relationship. Loneliness is not just an emotional experience. It affects the way people live their daily lives. It influences decisions, changes behaviors, and alters perspectives. A person who feels lonely may struggle with motivation, finding it difficult to engage in activities they once enjoyed. They may withdraw from relationships, believing that no one truly cares. They may begin to question their purpose, wondering if their existence makes any difference in the lives of others. These thoughts do not come all at once. They grow slowly over time, until they become a pattern of thinking. The longer loneliness lingers, the more deeply it shapes a person's view of themselves and the world. Some try to escape loneliness by filling their lives with distractions. They stay busy, filling every moment with work, entertainment, or meaningless interactions in an attempt to push away the emptiness. Others seek comfort in temporary pleasures, hoping to numb the ache of isolation. But none of these things truly heal loneliness. They may offer a moment of relief, but when the noise fades and the distractions end, the loneliness remains. The heart cannot be fooled by surface-level solutions. It longs for something real, something lasting, something that goes beyond temporary fixes. Reaching out for connection can feel risky. It requires vulnerability, the willingness to let others in, to share struggles, to admit the need for companionship. Many hesitate because they fear rejection. They have been hurt before, left out, overlooked, or abandoned, and they do not want to experience that pain again. It feels safer to build walls, to protect themselves from disappointment, to pretend that loneliness does not exist. But walls that keep out pain also keep out love. Isolation may feel like protection, but in reality, it only deepens the loneliness. Healing from loneliness requires courage. It means taking small steps toward connection, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means being honest about struggles, seeking out relationships, and allowing others to see beyond the surface. It means letting go of fear, stepping beyond the walls of self-protection, and believing that connection is still possible. It is not always easy, and it does not always happen quickly, but every step toward relationship is a step toward healing. True connection is built over time, through genuine effort and intentionality. It is found in deep conversations, in shared experiences, in the willingness to listen and be present. It is not about having a large number of friends, but about having relationships that are meaningful. Even one true connection can begin to break the chains of loneliness. A single person who truly sees, truly cares, and truly understands, can be enough to remind a lonely heart that they are not forgotten. Acts of kindness and service can also bring healing. When a person shifts their focus from their own loneliness to the needs of others, something changes. Serving, helping, reaching out to those who are also struggling. These actions create a sense of purpose and connection. Loneliness often makes people turn inward, focusing on their own pain, but when they choose to turn outward, they find that they are not alone in their struggles. There are others who feel the same way, others who need love and support, and in giving to others, they find that their own hearts begin to heal. Hope is essential in the fight against loneliness. It is the belief that things can change, that connection is still possible, that love is still within reach. Loneliness tries to convince people that they will always feel this way, that nothing will get better, that they are destined to be alone. But hope speaks a different message. It whispers that healing is possible, that new relationships can be formed, that no one is beyond the reach of love. Even in the deepest loneliness, hope remains a light, a reminder that no one is truly forgotten, that no heart is beyond repair. The battle against loneliness is not won in an instant, but it is a battle worth fighting. Every effort to connect, every moment of reaching out, every step taken toward relationship is a step away from isolation. The heart was not created to live alone. It was made for connection, for love, for companionship. And no matter how long loneliness has been present, it is never too late to find the relationships that bring healing and joy. Loneliness can feel like a never-ending night, a season that stretches on without the hope of morning. It settles into the heart, making every day feel heavier, and every moment feel longer. It is not always loud or dramatic. Often it is quiet, creeping in, unnoticed, until one day it feels as if it has always been there. The mind starts to adjust, accepting loneliness as a permanent companion rather than something that can be overcome. There is an ache that comes with loneliness, a longing to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. This longing is not just about having people around. It is about having people who truly know and care. A crowded room can feel just as lonely as an empty one, if there is no one to share in the deeper matters of life. Smiling faces and polite conversations do not always mean connection, and many who seem to be surrounded by others are struggling with an emptiness that no one sees. The weight of loneliness does not just rest on the heart, it reaches into every part of life. Thoughts begin to shift, shaping the way a person sees themselves. Doubt creeps in, whispering that they are unwanted, that they are not enough, that their absence would not be noticed. These thoughts, though untrue, start to feel real, making it harder to believe that things can change. A person who once had confidence may begin to withdraw, hesitating before speaking, holding back from reaching out, and convincing themselves that they are better off keeping to themselves. The impact of loneliness is not just emotional, it is physical as well. The body reacts to prolonged isolation, increasing stress levels, weakening immunity, and even affecting sleep patterns. Energy fades, motivation declines, and even simple tasks can begin to feel overwhelming. The connection between the mind and body is undeniable, and when loneliness takes hold, it affects every part of a person's well-being. Many try to escape loneliness in ways that provide temporary relief, but do not bring true healing. Distractions become a way to numb the pain, whether through endless entertainment, overworking, or seeking comfort in things that do not last. Some fill their schedules to avoid facing the silence, while others withdraw completely, believing that avoiding disappointment is better than trying again. These temporary solutions may dull the loneliness for a time, but they do not address the deeper need for real, meaningful connection. Fear often keeps loneliness in place. The fear of rejection, of being hurt again, of reaching out and finding no one there. These fears convince people to stay where they are, rather than risk the possibility of more pain. Past experiences reinforce these fears, making it easy to believe that connection is too difficult, that it is not worth the effort. The longer a person listens to these fears, the stronger they become, building walls that keep others out, even when the heart longs for closeness. Healing from loneliness requires a willingness to take steps toward connection, even when it feels difficult. The heart was not created to exist in isolation, and though loneliness may feel permanent, it does not have to be. Every effort to reach out, every moment spent building relationships, every step toward community, begins to break the cycle. True connection takes time, but it is worth the investment. Being present for others is one way to move beyond loneliness. When the focus shifts from personal isolation to serving, listening, and supporting others, something changes. Loneliness often turns thoughts inward, but choosing to look outward brings a new perspective. Many others are facing the same struggle, feeling unseen and forgotten. Extending kindness, offering friendship, and being a source of encouragement not only helps others, but also creates opportunities for new relationships to form. Hope is stronger than loneliness. It speaks a different message, one that reminds the heart that love, friendship, and connection are still possible. Loneliness tries to convince people that they are alone, that no one cares, that things will never change. But hope offers a different truth. Even in the deepest isolation, hope remains, whispering that healing is possible, that new relationships can be formed, that no one is truly forgotten. Loneliness is a struggle that touches many lives, often in ways that are unseen by the world. It shapes thoughts, influences emotions, and can even affect physical well-being. It creates an ache for connection, for understanding, for the reassurance that life is not meant to be lived in isolation. The weight of loneliness can feel overwhelming, making it seem as if nothing will ever change, but that is not the truth. Healing begins with recognizing that loneliness does not define a person's worth. It is not a reflection of failure or an unchangeable reality. Every small step toward connection, every effort to build relationships, and every moment spent in the presence of others helps to break its hold. Fear and past hurts may try to keep the heart closed, but choosing to reach out despite them opens the door to healing. No one is meant to walk through life alone. The longing for companionship is not a weakness, but a deep part of what it means to be human. There is hope beyond loneliness, a future where love, friendship, and belonging are not just possibilities, but reality. Taking the first step toward connection may feel difficult, but it is always worth it. The heart was created to give and receive love, and no amount of loneliness can change that truth.